All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Hopefully, you all have been doing well these last couple weeks. Today should mark 2 weeks from when we have been forced to separate from each other as far as being at the gym and being around large groups. And so, today, what I want to talk about is 3 ways or 3 lifestyle habits that we can practice to keep our immune system strong and processing well. And to fully note, the immune system is indeed that, a system of multiple things in the body working together to help us maintain or achieve a sense of homeostasis or a state of homeostasis. Okay, and so the first one we're going to talk about is antioxidants. Okay, and so antioxidants is obviously something that we can achieve through diet. And basically, antioxidants are molecules that fight free radicals or cancerous and unstable molecules. Okay, and so basically, when we have a high amount of antioxidants in our diet through fruits and through vegetables, this will help strengthen or support our immune system to continue to fight off these cancerous cells. Okay, and so studies have actually shown that those who eat higher amounts of fruits and vegetables have had lower risks of disease and cancer. And so some sources of antioxidants that I can recommend to you all, the number one being blueberries. Okay, and blueberries have a lot of research behind them showing that they are one of the most, if not the most powerful and antioxidant-rich fruits that we have available to us. Okay, and the most powerful antioxidant that are in the blueberries is the polyphenol anthocyanin. Maybe I'm pronouncing that correctly, maybe I'm not. The second one is leafy greens. And so 3 examples of this would be spinach, kale, and broccoli, right? And so what these are rich in is vitamin A, C, and D, and magnesium and potassium. So they're rich in vitamins and minerals, which again are going to help support our immune system. And if you're kind of like me and you don't enjoy having large bowls of salad every day, another option you can do for still getting a good amount of spinach and kale in your diet is by mixing them in your smoothies, right? So if you have a smoothie with maybe a favorite protein powder, using some almond milk or some low-calorie milk, as well as using your blueberries, getting maybe some peanut butter and some nuts, which I'll go into next, to get a good variety of vitamins and minerals. Especially could be a great thing for you to do first thing in the morning or maybe post-workout. And so that leads me to my last one, which is walnuts. And walnuts are a great source of omega-3s, which are your essential fatty acids, as well as polyphenols and vitamin E. Okay, and so those are, again, one thing that we can control with our diet and trying to add those in appropriate amounts that we feel comfortable doing. Okay, the second one is going to be sleep. Okay, and I know you guys probably hear me talk about this a lot, but I want to go a little bit more in depth with this of how this impacts our immune system. Okay, and so during sleep, our body releases proteins called cytokines. And what cytokines are basically proteins that help fight off antibodies and infectious cells. Okay, and so when we have sleep deprivation or we don't have adequate amounts of sleep on a daily basis or nightly basis, we start to lose that production of cytokines in our body. Okay, and so as you probably can kind of connect the dots, when we have less cytokines available and our body is not recovering adequately, our immune system is going to be compromised accordingly. Okay, and so the CDC, the Center of Disease Control, as well as the Mayo Clinic and a lot of other well-respected sources of medicine, what they recommend is adults to be having 7 to 8 hours of good sleep. And I want to emphasize good sleep because even if we're going to lay down at 10 p.m. and wake up at 5 a.m., but you don't really go to bed until about 11, that's going to be compromising your sleep, right? And so what we want to think about doing is marking how much sleep we're getting from when we actually fall asleep or think that we're falling asleep. So if you have like a Fitbit or like a smartwatch, these can also kind of help give you a gauge of when your body starts to experience a state of rest or a state of sleep. That can also be helpful as well. Okay, and so I think it says for teenagers, if you all have kids, is about 8 to 9 hours, and then kids, which I believe is younger than 12 or 10, I'm not exactly sure, is 10 hours of sleep can be optimal for actually allowing the cytokine production to be at the level it needs to be. Okay, and so that's where sleep comes into all of this, and on top of all the other things that I'm sure I've told you guys about with recovery and also just energy production throughout the rest of your day after you wake up. Okay, and the last one is going to kind of correlate really well with sleep, and probably a state that a lot of us are experiencing to a certain extent, and that's stress management. Okay, and so with stress management, obviously this has a correlation with a lot of different things. Let's see if I can get that a little more. A lot of different things, and to name a few, it's correlated with blood pressure, with digestion, with sleep, with appetite, and of course immune function. Okay, and so you're probably going to come to see that there's a ripple effect between what our stress levels are at and how our body's responding to accordingly. And especially with a lot of us working from home, all of us working from home, a lot of us still working 40-hour-a-week jobs, a lot of us still having to take care of families and kids and still keep food on the table. This can be a very tough thing for us to be able to manage. And so I just want to give you all a few steps that I like to do with myself and that I will try and do with each of you individually as the days and weeks continue. And if things aren't getting better, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to work on this with you one-on-one. But a few steps we can work on with reducing stress is number one, assessing when you feel stressed, being conscious and aware of the state of stress that your body is experiencing. And this can be very easy to ignore, especially when it becomes a chronic thing and it starts to affect our posture or our appetite in a lot of these different areas that I talked about earlier. Being aware of those things and then taking note of it. Okay, and then aside from taking note of when you feel stressed, more importantly, assess when you don't feel stressed. Are there any activities during the day that you feel at peace, that you don't feel like you're judging yourself and that you don't feel like you're wasting your time? I mean, for me, it can be something as simple as going for a walk, maybe painting, reading a book, just something where I'm able to feel at peace with myself. And so being sure that you have that time available to yourself, I think is critical, especially in a time like this, especially when we're all stuck at home and we all want to be able to go outside and we all want to be able to interact with each other. That can be stressful in and of itself. And that leads me to my last point of noting positive and negative self-talk. Excuse me, I have one more point after this, but positive and negative self-talk. And this is going to correlate with when you feel stressed and when you don't feel stressed. And how are you talking to yourself when you're experiencing these states of emotions, right? And so for an example, when you feel stressed and you're just playing in your mind, oh my gosh, I still have so much to do. I still have so many meetings I have to attend to today. I still have all these other things I need to check off before I can go to bed. Is that causing you stress? How are you talking to yourself when you're assessing this list? Is there a way that you can talk to yourself in a more appropriate and well-mannered way? A lot of times we can be more self-critical to ourselves than how we are with the relationships that we have with people, especially friends and family. So that can be another thing, that you want to treat yourself just like you would treat your significant other if you're married, or your parents, or your brother or sister. Just as you would for them, you probably wouldn't talk to them the way that you talk to yourself sometimes. So being aware of that and conscious of it can be very helpful in and of itself. And the same thing for positive self-talk too. Like I was saying earlier, is assessing when you don't feel stressed. How are you talking to yourself? Is there a way, or is there a voice in your head where you're saying like, man, this feels awesome. I wish I had more time like this. I wish I could be able to do this more often, right? And so understanding and appreciating that time is going to be very helpful for us. And so the last thing I ask, or that I will request, will be, can you delegate? I have a blank here. You can kind of see it. Can you delegate X amount of minutes each day to allowing yourself to meditate? Okay, and meditation can be any form that you want it to take, whether it be just sitting down and breathing and practicing long, deep breaths, or if it's going for a walk before going to bed, or when you first wake up, or if it's stretching, whatever it may be, exercising. Delegate that time each and every day, right? At the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. So split it up, right? So if you want to delegate 10 minutes a day, maybe 5 minutes in the morning when you first wake up, before you open your laptop, before you check your emails on your phone, or 5 minutes before you go to bed, right? After the TV is shut off, after the lights are turned off, or maybe having some dim lighting, and then just sitting there and being with yourself, right? This means aside from your significant other, aside from your family, just being one-on-one with you and your thoughts. Okay, this will be my challenge for you all. I would like you to try this at least once this week. If twice or 3 times, that's even better. Go celebrate and enjoy the fact that you're able to practice this. Okay, let me know how it goes, friends, and I'll be in contact with you soon.